Cell is the structural and functional unit of living organism. Skin is made up of specialized kind of cells, and since they are made up of cells, they must be having outer covering, or the outer membrane of the cell is made up of semi-permeable membrane or plasma membrane. Plasma membrane only allows certain substances to move inside or to pass through it because it is selectively permeable. And here the movement of only water molecules is allowed easily. When we are in a rainy season outside, then our body or our fingers come in contact with rainwater for a long period of time, and then after there is appearance of this kind of wrinkles in our fingers. These wrinkles are formed because of osmosis which our fingers have done, as because they were in contact with water for longer period of time. Although moisture content is always retained when we are bathing or when we are washing our face or hands, but during this time in the rainy season, when your hand is in contact with the outside sun, at that time, I'm sorry, it is not the sun, outside rain, our fingers, they tend to absorb a lot of water, and that's why they look this kind of wrinkle. They are like, the reason is because of osmosis this condition is happening. But what is the benefit of this occurrence? Our grip becomes very stronger when this kind of wrinkles develop, and that is the reason, that is also one of the reasons why our body allows this osmosis to occur. And if we think in a common way or in a very simple way, in the rainy season, the chances of skidding or anything slipping off is very high. So if these kind of wrinkles are formed, then the chances of skidding will be decreased. And that's why this happens. It happens not only in our finger, everywhere in our skin. Wherever water will come in contact, is the condition which is going to take place. Today we will be discussing one of the experiment on osmosis, and let's see. This is a glassware which we are going to use, and it is known as a thistle tube. As you can see, this structure over here, we will be covering this structure with a semi-permeable membrane. Our interest will be just to cover it with a semi-permeable membrane before we begin with the experiment. And as we covered it with semi-permeable permeable membrane, the content of inside, we will be adding in the inside of this thistle funnel sugar solution, and this sugar solution will be hypertonic, whereas the beaker in which we will be placing it will be containing normal water. Okay, so let us see the experimental setup at first. But before moving on to the experimental setup, we must know that what are the different kinds of semi-permeable membrane. There are different kinds of semi-permeable membrane. They are important because they allow only the movement of water from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. It means only the water molecule will be moving from the area where the water is pure to the area where the water is impure, so that the concentration gradient in both the membranes or both the side of the membranes will get, so that it gets equalized. So that is the idea about semi permeable membrane. The various membranes which we can be using as semi permeable membrane are parchment membrane, whisking bag, a cellophane sheet, a very thin cellophane sheet, goat's bladder. It is made up of semi-permeable membrane because outer wall of the goat's bladder will be containing sheet of cells, and those cells, all the cells are semi-permeable. So that's why. And the egg membrane, the widely used semi-permeable membrane is the egg membrane, or at times even whisking bag is used for the same purpose. How do we get an egg membrane? Think about a normal egg, a hen's egg or any bird's egg. That egg is kept in concentrated hydrochloric acid, and after a certain period of time, we see that the calcium carbonate which is present in the outer shell is removed, and then after we place it in normal water and try to cut it. Once we cut it, the yolk part is removed and the thick plasma membrane is present. Now that plasma membrane, we use it as a, you know egg membrane or a semi permeable membrane for this experimental setup. So let's begin. This is the experimental setup. We have water, and this thistle funnel has its base covered with semi-permeable membrane, and inside it, that blue liquid is a sugar solution. Sugar solution in the sense it is concentrated sugar solution. Now, the movement of water will always be from the region of higher concentration of water to the region of lower concentration of water. Higher concentration of water in the sense where is the presence of more pure water, from the area of more pure water to the area which is less pure water, so that the bifurcation which is made with the help of semi permeable membrane only leaves us with, or we can just equalize the presence of water in both the sides of the membrane. So, as we are already aware that sugar solution is hypertonic and water is pure, so water will so the movement will be always from higher concentration of water to lower concentration of water. In both the cases, suppose this is 1 and 2, in this case, which one has higher concentration? 1 or 2? Higher concentration of water, pure water. So higher concentration of pure water is in 2 because it has no impurities in the form of sugar, salt or any minerals mixed with it. So that's why movement of water will be from 2 to 1. Please remember this. The movement of water is always from the region of higher concentration of water to the region of lower concentration of water. And when it occurs, then what is the change we'll observe? We will be observing that after say 10-15 minutes only, the level of this thistle funnel will tend to increase. If suppose this was the first mark, let's suppose that first mark was this, which is over here shown. So initially, say at a particular time, when we just made this setup, we had placed this much amount of sugar solution. Now after just 15 minutes, we see that the final level has been reached. It means the water has risen to almost that much amount, and we can read it. There is reading also in this thistle funnel, so we can very easily read that how much amount of water has risen in what time period. This rise in water is taking place only because the movement of water is guarded by the semi permeable membrane. Had there been no presence of semi permeable membrane, then these two solutions could have got mixed very easily. And if we would have placed something else than a semi permeable membrane, suppose if we place uh, plastic sheet, then there will be no movement seen because plastic is completely opaque and it will not allow the movement of water from a region of higher to lower concentration, or any movement will not be allowed. But in case of semi-permeable membrane, there is a possibility of movement, as because selective substances, here only water is allowed to move from the region where it is present in higher quantity to the region where it is present in lower quantity. So we conclude by this idea that all the fluids, they have a tendency to move, and they always move from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration when they are passing through a semi permeable membrane. And why are they moving in this condition? So that they can just equalize the concentration on either side of the membrane. The diffusion of fluids through these membranes or porous partitions can only occur when the membrane is selectively permeable. And this movement, where we have seen or we have just observed, over there we see that the water moves. The movement of water is always from the pure water side to the impure side. And here when I say impure side, it means that where there is mixing of sugar, salt or any minerals or organic substances to a water. So there are two types of substances. Suppose In the first 1 and 2 I have just written. In 1, if we have presence of pure water, there will be always movement from pure water to any other substance. It can be an organic substance mixed to this too, or it can be salt. Sugar is an organic substance. So any minerals, anything, if something is mixed, it will become impure, and movement of water is always from pure to impure side, so that there is a equilibrium maintained, and because of the presence of equilibrium, there will be no movement allowed in either side of the semi permeable membrane. So I hope it is understood. And the similar experiment you can think with the help of cellophane paper, parchment membrane, or whisking bag. The condition lies the same. Hope it was easy for understanding, and the example of semi-permeable membranes are very important. Everyone should understand it and learn it as well.